Hi YouTube again. So this is my second video today talking about the support that we need from our partners. Um, I've been spending most of the week thinking about what I wanted to say in this video. It's actually the subject of a paper that I'm writing for a class that I'm in right now. And I want to separate my comments, I think, into three categories. First is the support that Stefan has provided to me. Second is tips or advice or comments in general about how or what I think folks should be doing or how they should be operating in their relationships. And then my third section is some lessons that I've learned, and it's the source for this paper about the second noble truth in Buddhism and how it can really help us think about, as partners of trans folk, how to be okay with their transition. So first, the support that Stefan has provided to me. When he came out to me in probably June of 2011, we had a pretty in-depth conversation about what he saw this process looking like, what he was excited about, what he was nervous about, what I was excited about and nervous about. And really from the beginning, my nervousness was for his safety. I was concerned about him deciding to, or getting to the place where he was ready to use a men's restroom, someone finding out that he was not biologically male and then deciding to do something to him as a result of that. Um, and I was concerned about what it would mean for our relationship and how he would change. He's the one who has always suggested to me, well, you should look at joining this Yahoo group, or you should look at, there's groups on Facebook to join, or here are some resources that can help you to think through this process. So he's been very supportive in terms of kind of helping give me the language and the resources that I need to feel comfortable with what was going to happen. I've also been to a therapy session with him, and I've been to the doctor with him a couple times. When he went to do his consultation with the doctor for the first time, I went with him because I had some questions, and it was nice for me to be able to hear it directly from the doctor. In life and outside of trans-related things, I could not ask for a partner that is more supportive. My work right now is really crazy, and I work 6 days a week. Every week the classes are in session, and he is frustrated by that, but doesn't take it out on me and doesn't get super angry with me about the ways in which I can't necessarily control what my work environment looks like or what my time spent at work looks like. And he is always willing to sit and listen to all of my crazy stories and my successes and the things that I'm frustrated with. And I really could not ask for a better partner and a better listener in that regard. Some general comments. I think what I have seen the most on a number of the groups that I'm a part of is people don't communicate with each other. And I listen to Dan Savage's podcast, I listen to Jillian Michaels' podcast, and it's amazing to me how many people call into those shows and what they're actually saying or what they're asking is, how do I communicate with my mother, my father, my partner, my son, my daughter? And most times the answer is just talk to them. And so I think in terms of support that we all need as partners, it's incredibly important to communicate with our partners and to say, I really need this from you. I really need you to help me be okay with this, or you to explain this, or to tell me how you feel, or tell me what you're thinking. So it's incredibly important for us to communicate with each other. So that's my first comment, and around kind of general things. And then my second comment around general things is not to be afraid to ask questions or to call your partner out. That has been the most helpful for Stefan and I, for me to be able to say, hey, you are not talking to me, or you seem really distant right now, or you seem to be really struggling with this, or you're doing all this stuff and you're not telling me what's going on, um, or how does this work or how does that work. It's been really helpful for me to be able to ask questions, and if he doesn't know the answer, we'll either look for it together, or if he does know the answer, he'll either tell me or point me towards a resource that can help me to feel a little more secure in that. So the third section of the comments that I wanted to make are around the Buddhist principle of, or the Buddhist truth, second truth around change and being okay with change. So in Buddhism, there are four noble truths. I'm taking a class on Buddhism right now. And the second noble truth talks about all the suffering in our lives is created because we are unable to let go of things and to allow things to change. The best metaphor that I've heard about the changing nature of things is, if you were to pause this video and you were to go get a candle, and you light this candle, you put it on the table next to you, and then you leave it for the rest of the video. So if you want to do that, feel free to pause and go do that. But if you can imagine with me, if you're not lighting a candle in your house right now, if you were to not look at that candle for the rest of this video, and then you were to go back and look at it, it's still a candle and there's still a flame, but that flame is not the exact same flame that you saw when you first lit the candle. Every nanosecond, that flame changes. It changes shape, it changes height, it changes color ever so slightly, it changes temperature ever so slightly. And so while it's still a flame, and while it still essentially can catch your paper on fire, or catch your house on fire, or provide heat, or release the scent of the candle, it's a slightly different flame than what you saw before. So we can use that metaphor to really think about our partners from the standpoint of, every single day when we come home, we're still essentially the same person we were when we left. But the experiences that we have throughout the day change us and mold us and shape us and make us a different person ever so slightly than we were when we left home that morning. And I think if Buddhists talk about how one of the ways that we can alleviate the suffering that we experience in life is to be okay with change. And I think that's very important for the partners of trans folk, to recognize that we are seeing a lot more change in our partners than maybe some of our straight friends, or some of our friends in relationships where one of the partners isn't trans. And we have to remember that it's still the same person. Our partner is still the same person. They're still that same person that we were attracted to. They may look a little different. They might sound a little different. But those things were going to happen anyway in the relationship, even if they weren't trans. In 5 years, they're not going to look exactly the same that they did now, even if they weren't transitioning. They're not going to sound exactly the same. They're not going to think exactly the same way. And so I think coming to terms with that and being able to accept that this is still the person I fell in love with, and this is still the person that I thought was cute on that first date, even though they might look drastically different from that original conception I have in my mind, I have to learn to let go of that conception, and I have to learn how to accept what I see in front of me right now. And I think that can make it a lot easier for folks. So I hope that made sense. I feel like I rambled a little bit. But those are my thoughts on support of trans people and how we as partners can kind of help ourselves a little bit, I think. And if you have questions or comments, feel free to leave them below, and look forward to seeing you all next week.